Today on BackcountryJournal.com, we're at the H&R 1871 manufacturing facility, and our guest Robin Sharpless is going to take us through the manufacturing process. Hi there, Robin.
Hi, how you doing today? Good, good, pleasure. Glad you could come down. I think it's going to be interesting for your viewers to actually see a shotgun made all the way from the point of pieces of wood and chunks of steel at one end of the factory, and a finished gun going out the other end. So we're rather unique in that because many of the manufacturers farm out their wood or farm out their barrel drilling or one of the other steps. We're one of the few manufacturers in the country that actually does all of it right here.
Beginning to end.
Yes, so that should be a lot of fun.
Nice. I wonder also if you could take us a little bit back into the history of the company.
Sure. The name H&R 1871 is actually new in 1991. Harrington and Richardson, a name that everyone is familiar with, was founded in 1875, and just before that, in 1871, Wesson and Harrington was founded. Wesson and Harrington was the, if you will, the father of all of this. It was founded by Frank Wesson and his nephew Gilbert Harrington. Of course, the Wesson name is familiar from Smith & Wesson. Frank Wesson is the brother of Daniel Baird Wesson. Well, by 1875, he was ready to go back and continue building his single-shot target rifles and opted to sell his portion of the business out to William Richardson, creating Harrington and Richardson. That company, Harrington and Richardson, went through a variety of name changes, including Arms Company or Harrington and Richardson Inc., with Harrington and Richardson Inc. finally foundering and going bankrupt in 1986. In 1987, a group of investors bought from the Federal Bankruptcy Court selected assets and no liabilities. So what they call selected asset buy. They founded a company called New England Firearms Company, Inc., which lasted until 1991 when they got in trouble. In 91, the group of investors that I work with bought New England Firearms Company, Inc., lock, stock, and barrel, so to speak, assets and liabilities, and liquidated it and formed H&R 1871 Incorporated. We wanted to harken back to the history and heritage of the old Harrington and Richardson name. So at that point in time, by creating a new corporation, we actually, I guess General Motors is a good analogy to use because H&R 1871 Inc. is the corporate name, and then the brands we produce are Harrington and Richardson, New England Firearms, and Wesson and Harrington. But there's one thing one thing your viewers need to understand, and that is the Harrington and Richardson we produce today is far different than what was made by the company that went bankrupt in 1986. And as a result, we can't provide parts or service on those older guns made actually prior to 1991, because we made our first Harrington and Richardson guns in 1991 when we established a new trademark, because the Harrington and Richardson trademark had died effectively, expired, yes. So that gives you a little bit of the background on where we came from. Today, we're a manufacturer here in Gardner, Massachusetts, one location, 160,000 square foot facility, about 235 employees. And we build almost 250,000 guns a year, right here, 1,000 a day.
That's very impressive.
Thank you.
And like you said, all under one roof.
All under one roof, all made in America, all American workers.
Nice. Let's go take a look.
Okay. We're going to go out into the factory in a few minutes and see how it all comes together. And it's interesting because it sort of comes in two doors. The wood comes in the back, the steel comes in the front, and we have a whole series of operations. The first thing we'll be seeing is the cutoff of the bar stock. It's funny because people wonder how a shotgun barrel is made, and there's a sort of a misnomer. A lot of people think that it starts out as a piece of drawn tubing or whatnot. It's actually a piece of cold-rolled steel bar stock. And the first job that we're going to see happen is that bar stock gets cut to length. From there, it moves over to the deep hole drills, which is really one of the most fascinating of operations, because using the reverse of what we normally think of as drilling, in this case the drill rod or barb itself is fixed and the part spins, we drill a hole up to 32 inches long for instance, a 32-inch shotgun barrel. So we'll probably see some 28-inch stuff being run out there today, and it's really quite fascinating because this, you're drilling a 735 diameter hole down a piece of bar stock for 28 inches, and you can't have more than about 2/1000ths of an inch run out per inch for it to be accurate enough to use. So that's a pretty exciting part. From there, the barrels go over and they're reamed. To get that smooth finish on the inside that we're all used to looking down a barrel and seeing that bright shine. After reaming, we're going to see the barrels go over and be profiled. And this is a tracing lathe where there is a bar that actually has a contour in it, and the lathe follows the contour, and then the cutter cuts that contour onto the barrel. So we go from a perfectly parallel barrel to something that, of course, is wider at the muzzle, at the breech end, and tapers down to the muzzle, as we're used to seeing. After that, we have a bunch of small operations that happen. The lug gets welded on, which is the hinge part of the gun. We'll go from there into the polishing area, and we'll see the guns polished on a strap. At that point, the barrels, the lug has a bunch of other operations that go on it so that we can fit the ejector and all the small parts involved, because our guns all have an automatic ejection, which in fact you'll hear the click when you break it open, and that's that automatic ejector springing out to toss the empty case. After that, they'll go into bluing and then be ready to be fit up. The other part of the line builds the receiver, and the receiver goes through a broaching operation, a variety of drilling operations. Ultimately is high polished by hand. We'll see a guy on a wheel polishing, and eventually we'll go through heat treat and come out with the case coloring that everyone's so used to seeing. Unfortunately, because of the high temperatures and hazardous materials involved in heat treating, we can't go into that area, but I wish we could, because it's really quite interesting. Then we'll go down to final assembly, and we'll see the parts come together. Small parts will be assembled up on the receiver on one side. The ejectors and things will be fit onto the barrels, and then they all come together and are fitted together, every gun, one at a time, by hand and head spaced. After the head spacing is complete, the guns then go into the proofing area, where they are, every one, we are 100% proof here. Every one is fired with an overpressure proof load. Now, these loads run significantly higher pressures than a standard maximum operating pressure of any shot shell that you would ever shoot in the field. The reasoning behind this is, of course, for safety, we want to test and make sure that the gun can withstand anything that you could possibly put into it as far as factory ammunition is concerned. Not all manufacturers proof every gun. Many use what are called statistical proofing techniques, where one out of a batch of every so many. We think for the ultimate safety of both you and our employees, because one would want to eliminate any potential danger that could hurt our employees, we proof every one. And you'll see it's proofed in about a 1-inch thick steel plate box, fired inside of that box. So we'll get to see that as well. From there, it'll come out. It'll have its wood fitted, and then it's a finished gun heading over to the shipping room, and you'll see how the box is packaged. The part I left out is wood, because that's sort of almost a separate factory within the factory. And we'll go into the wood room and see how the stocks are carved on big 8-at-a-time carving machines, sanded by hand, finished and painted by hand. And I don't think any checkering's running today, which is unfortunate, because it's fun to watch our checkerers cut one line of checkering at a time. The hand checkering that you see on our guns here is truly that. It's not done by a machine. It's done by a man. And that man is doing it literally one line cut at a time with a rotary cutting head. And that's about what we do here from start to finish on building one of our shotguns. As I say, we're one of the largest makers we're the largest maker of single-barrel shotguns in the world. And on an average year, we produce nearly 250,000 shotguns. And the good news for all of our employees is that that's not quite enough, because it seems that we've been running in a backorder situation for the last 3 years. Well, one of the things that we're known for, of course, is as the world's largest maker of single-barrel shotguns, probably the staple of our line, which we all see as the partner, the New England Firearms Standard partner. It's sold in gun shops all over the U.S., and in fact, it's sold worldwide. I think the last time we looked, in 42 or 43 different countries. To that end, I believe that we now have our guns being sold on every continent except the Antarctic. And I can say we are sold in the Arctic because we actually have a wholesaler in Iceland, which comes right just within the Arctic Circle range. So that's kind of interesting. The gun that we're probably most proud of is, of course, the Partner Youth. And the Partner Youth is grown to be probably the most popular youth shotgun in the world today. Currently, 37 different states use this gun for their hunter education programs. And we have put a major initiative into youth programs over the years. We currently, with this gun, have a loaner program with the Boy Scouts of America, so that the Boy Scout camps each summer have the opportunity to have shotguns at no charge to run their shotgun merit badge programs. In fact, this year we had 72, it's the first year out with the program, and we had 72 of the 370 Boy Scout camps in America have shotguns the first year. We've also started similar loaner programs with the folks at 4-H. We're working on a variety of programs with FFA, One of the major focuses we have is to help make sure that we can get more and more young people involved in these sports, because they're great sports that teach great traditions of responsibility and care for our natural environment. You know, hunters have always been the first conservationists, and it's interesting, when we look at ourselves as hunters compared to many other conservation groups, we're one of the few that actually pay our way, because our hunting license fees and the Pittman-Robertson excise tax money from the sale of these shotguns goes to the federal government, which buy land and provide the salaries of the wildlife research people to keep our game populations strong and healthy. These guns, of course, are very well known. The Harrington and Richardson toppers, the nickel and black. We brought these guns back in 1991. In fact, the one you see here is a Harrington and Richardson topper deluxe slug gun, which is a rifled slug gun that has a compensated barrel to help reduce recoil. The toppers have been around for a long time, and of course, the black finish and nickel receiver is very distinctive, and you know it's a topper from quite some distance away. One of the other areas that we've become involved in over the years is in building rifles, and in this one in particular happens to be a Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation commemorative edition we did for the Elk Foundation to help raise money a couple of years ago. Again, another great organization. This one happens to be in the caliber .280 Remington, and earlier we saw some pictures of the hand check ring on this. It also carries a medallion in the stock. Same basic action design, but the action itself is made of different materials on the rifles to maintain the high pressures. And when we're out in the factory, we'll probably see the shotgun receivers versus the rifle receivers. Shotgun receivers start out as a ductile iron material, which is then heat treated. The rifle receivers are a high cast or a high tensile investment cast steel.